The year was 1939. It was a time of uncertainty and fear as the world stood on the brink of an unprecedented conflict. Across the globe, a dark cloud gathered. Nations held their breath, sensing the impending storm that would soon break. World War II had begun, plunging humanity into its most devastating conflict yet. The scale of destruction was unimaginable, with cities reduced to rubble and millions of lives lost. From the beaches of Normandy to the deserts of North Africa, battles raged, consuming nations and shattering lives. The bravery and sacrifice of countless soldiers became the stuff of legends as they fought for freedom and survival. Amidst this chaos, a storm brewed in the Pacific, a confrontation that would culminate in an event unlike any other in human history. This war was different. It was not just a battle of armies, but a clash of ideologies and a test of human endurance. It was a war of ideologies, a clash of empires, a fight for the very soul of mankind. Propaganda fueled the fire as leaders on both sides rallied their nations with impassioned speeches and promises of victory. The world watched with bated breath as the forces of fascism, led by Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan, threatened to engulf the globe in darkness. The stakes had never been higher, and the outcome of this war would shape the future of humanity for generations to come. The resilience of the human spirit was tested, and the world would never be the same again. Japan, a nation forged in the fires of samurai tradition, sought to expand its empire across Asia. This ambition was deeply rooted in its history and culture, where honor and power were paramount. The samurai spirit, with its code of Bushido, influenced the nation's leaders and their vision for a greater Japan. Driven by militaristic ambitions and a thirst for resources, its forces swept across Manchuria, China, and Southeast Asia, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. The invasions were marked by brutal tactics and overwhelming force, aiming to secure vital resources and strategic positions. Cities were razed, and countless lives were lost as Japan's imperial machine moved forward, relentless. The world condemned these acts of aggression, but Japan's war machine seemed unstoppable. International leaders voiced their outrage, and newspapers around the globe decried the violence. Yet, despite the growing chorus of condemnation, Japan continued its march, undeterred and unyielding. Then came December 7th, 1941, the date which will live in infamy. On that fateful morning, the skies over Pearl Harbor were filled with the roar of Japanese aircraft, unleashing a surprise attack that would change the course of history. Japanese forces launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, a devastating blow that plunged the United States into the heart of the war. The attack left the American Pacific Fleet crippled, with ships burning and sailors scrambling to respond. It was a moment of shock and horror that galvanized the American public. The sleeping giant had been awakened, its resolve hardened by the fires of vengeance. President Roosevelt addressed the nation, rallying the American people to the cause. The United States, once hesitant to join the conflict, now mobilized with unprecedented determination, ready to face the challenges ahead and bring the fight to the Axis powers. The Pacific theater became a cauldron of fire and steel. From the coral atolls of the South Pacific to the volcanic islands of Iwo Jima and Okinawa, American and Japanese forces clashed in brutal battles. Every inch of ground was contested with a ferocity that defied imagination. As the war dragged on, the human cost mounted. Casualties on both sides soared, each number representing a life cut short, a family torn apart. The world yearned for peace, but the fighting raged on, fueled by hatred and the desperate desire for victory. Meanwhile, in the secret laboratories of the Manhattan Project, a weapon of unimaginable power was being forged, the atomic bomb. Driven by the fear that Nazi Germany might develop such a weapon first, the United States poured vast resources into this top-secret program. The scientists understood the gravity of their task. They held the fate of the world in their hands. The decision to use such a weapon, if it proved successful, would have consequences that would reverberate for generations to come. Section 5, Hiroshima, a flash of light, an eternal shadow. On August 6, 1945, the world changed forever. An American B-29 bomber, the Enola Gay, dropped a single atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. The city, once a bustling hub of commerce and culture, vanished in a blinding flash of light and a deafening roar. Tens of thousands of people were vaporized instantly. Those who survived the initial blast faced a horrific fate: radiation sickness, burns, and a lifetime of suffering. The world watched in horror as the true extent of the devastation became clear. Section 6, Nagasaki, a second son. 3 days later, on August 9th, 1945, another atomic bomb was dropped, this time on the city of Nagasaki. Once again, a mushroom cloud rose into the sky, a testament to the terrible power unleashed upon the world. Nagasaki too was reduced to rubble. The decision to drop the second bomb remains a subject of intense debate to this day. Some argue that it was necessary to force Japan's unconditional surrender and prevent further bloodshed. Others believe it was a horrific act of unnecessary violence. Section 7 Legacy of Ashes, the Aftermath and Moral Reckoning. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki left an indelible mark on history, forever altering the course of human events. In the aftermath of the bombings, Japan surrendered, bringing World War II to an end. The world watched as a nation, once a formidable force, was brought to its knees. The world rejoiced at the news of peace. But the celebrations were tinged with a profound sense of unease. The joy of victory was overshadowed by the haunting realization of the destructive power humanity had unleashed. Humanity had entered the atomic age, an era fraught with peril. The mushroom clouds over Hiroshima and Nagasaki were not just symbols of victory but also harbingers of a new, terrifying reality. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki triggered a global debate about the morality of nuclear weapons. Nations grappled with the ethical implications of wielding such immense power. Some argued that they were necessary evils, deterrents against future wars. They believed that the sheer destructive capability of nuclear weapons would prevent any rational actor from initiating conflict. Others condemned them as barbaric weapons that had no place in a civilized world. The voices of the Hibakusha, the survivors of the bombings, echoed this sentiment, sharing harrowing tales of suffering and loss toward the aftermath of the bombings led to numerous international efforts to control and eventually eliminate nuclear weapons. Treaties were signed, and global leaders pledged to work towards a future free from the shadow of nuclear annihilation. Today, Hiroshima stands as a testament to resilience and a reminder of the past. The city, once reduced to ashes, now thrives, symbolizing hope and the enduring human spirit. Section 8 Air World Forever Changed Remembering for the Future. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki stand as a stark reminder of the human capacity for both destruction and resilience. They are a call to action, a plea for peace and understanding in a world still grappling with the legacy of nuclear weapons. As we remember the victims of these tragedies, let us strive to create a world where such horrors are never repeated. Let us choose dialogue over violence, diplomacy over destruction. The future of humanity depends on it.